Twitter at AMNationPod. On YouTube, search Amalgamation Nation. On your podcast platform of choice, such as Spotify, Google, Apple, etc., make sure you search Amalgamation Nation. And on twitch.tv/UndeadRedBull. It is Tuesday night, which means it's our sports show. Thursday night we'll be back for the gaming show. And then we are recording Sunday a Naruto Shippuden special weebisode. So pretty excited for that. If you're looking for some sweet merch, just like BK here, you can find the merch link below if you're listening on podcast platforms, and then on our Twitter at AMNationPod. The link is there, but in case you want to hear it, it's teespring.com/stores/AMNation-Undead-Red-Bull. BK, you're wearing the shirt. How does it feel?
It's actually like really soft. I know we were making the joke, or I was, that it might be like really stiff and hard and exfoliate your skin, but no, it's actually a nice little cotton blend. It's comfortable.
Oh, very nice, very nice. He said stiff and hard, and I was like, I don't know where we're going, but I'm here for the ride. I'm here for the ride.
Talking about this.
Oh, so make sure you guys get yourself some merch as well. Of course, I'm the anime watching, Swole Team 6 flexing, Olivia Munn's liking, John Cena's following, Garage Guy sleeping, hostess with the mostest himself, Ryan Greenman Sheet Ebner. And I am joined tonight by, from North Carolina, Brendan B.K. Kennerly. BK, how are you, sir?
I'm feeling a little under the weather, but this is my second espresso here in less than a half an hour, so I'm ready to go just for this, and I'll go back to sleep.
This man said, espresso and Dayquil, whip it up. Whip this shit up.
An emergency. I threw an emergency in there, too.
Damn, bro. He's just whoosh. Good Lord. Well, way to power through it, sir. Proud of you. Also joining us, Petey Tahiti Argus. Pete, how are you?
Well, I'm doing better than, I guess, BK. I know that for sure. I mean, BK kind of sounds raspy and doesn't sound right. But no, I'm doing good, man.
Holy shit. Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it. And rounding out the group, we got from twitch.tv/UndeadRedBull himself, David, how are you?
Doing pretty good. Pretty good.
You are on a streak, my man, like 6 or 7 days in a row of streaming.
I know.
I'm crazy. Yeah, I know.
I'm more excited.
Far off though, but I don't know. Now that I'm on the streak, I might as well just keep. I don't know. We'll see.
Let's see how it goes. Yeah,
as long as people want to play Call of Duty or do something, then I'll keep streaming. But we'll see.
We indeed shall. So there's a lot to get into here. We had the college football national championship yesterday. We had the NFL's first round of the playoffs this past weekend. Hockey's back this week. Baseball, soccer, NBA, all the above. So let's touch upon a couple quick hits here in the NHL. Hockey's back tomorrow, January 13th. Pittsburgh and Philadelphia will kick it off on NBC Sports. And then Hawks actually play after them at 8 p.m. Central Time. Hawks versus Tampa Bay. That's probably going to be a blowout, so it is what it is. You know what I mean? It is. Just is what it is. Also in Hawks news, Crawford retired after 13 seasons. Super sad, but it means that he only played for the Hawks in his career. So that's pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. He said, I don't want to play for the New Jersey Devils. I don't want to do it. So no, Mr. Crawford. And it's something interesting I saw. So we talked about, I think, before how the NHL on their helmets, right, they are selling the rights, like to put sponsorships on there, similar to what the NBA does on their jerseys. And they actually, even for this year only, gave away the naming rights to the division, the 4 divisions that they created for this special season: the Scotia and NHL division, the Honda NHL division, the Discover NHL division, and the Mass Mutual NHL division. I think this is just a creative way for the NHL to make money, right? Make revenue during this time. You're probably not going to have fans, at least for a large portion, I would say, of the season. So to be able to, make some money out of it, that's a creative way from the NHL to do just that. Anything? Oh, Pete, real quick before I do move on, I do want to ask you, Pete, a question though. David, you touched upon it, that you said you agree that it was good that Crawford finished off his career as Blackhawk, basically. Pete, do you have any favorite memory of Crawford?
Oh man. Well, I mean, obviously the greatest memory of Crawford is when he when we got the Stanley Cup and he was at the parade and he said "effing right, Chicago."
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, that was number one. Really for what you think of for Crawford, but no, I mean Crawford obviously was a great Blackhawk. I think he was very undervalued. I think until like maybe the last couple of years of his career. I feel like a lot of the praise always went to Tays, Kane, and Keith and Seabrook and that core. I feel like when they won those Stanley Cups, it was like major them. But Crawford was a huge part of that. And Crawford, like people would say, Crawford was a liability, and I mean Crawford was definitely an asset. So I mean he was a great Blackhawk, and I know that he's obviously had injury issues the last few years, and I wish for his sake he would have kept playing, but hey, I mean, as you touched upon Ryan, for him to retire as a Blackhawk, I mean, that's pretty cool. So, yeah.
100%. David, do you have a favorite memory of Crawford? Mine is the same as Pete's, so.
It's probably gonna be all the same, just playoff memories, Stanley Cups. I actually have a photo though when me and my dad went to one of the playoff games, and in between me and my dad is Crawford in the goalie right behind us.
Oh, that's awesome.
From the ice. So I'll share it. I'll share it on Twitter, or maybe I'll pull it out so I can show it on stream. That's my favorite memory.
Well, there we go. Yeah, awesome, great career for Corey Crawford, and it's sad to see him go, but and now he can get himself healthy, which he wasn't for the last few years. So that would be good to see. BK, I know. Oh, see, there's the picture right there. Oh, there he is.
Nice.
That's pretty dope.
Crawford's in the back.
Oh, that's a great shot.
That's dope.
That is.
That's awesome. BK, I know you're a little under the weather, sir. But go ahead and take them to the pitch, boy. To the pitch.
Arsenal win again 2-0 against Newcastle in the FA Cup with goals from ESR and Abba. And then Arsenal have won their last 4, so hopefully the win streak continues, knock on wood. They're going to face either Southampton or Shrewsbury Town in the next round of the FA Cup. They're just waiting for that game to be played. It was delayed because of COVID. Then your Wolves won the other day. They beat Crystal Palace 1-0, also in the FA Cup, so they're marching along. They kind of broke their 4-match winless streak there, goal by Troy. So they're back in the winning ways, and they're going to face Chorley in the next round of the FA Cup. And then finally, for the soccer news here to round it out, the NWSL draft is actually live tomorrow on Twitch. So if you want to see Dennis Rodman's daughter get drafted, there you go.
Oh, I kind of do. I didn't know Dennis Rodman's daughter played professional soccer.
Yeah, well, she's about to.
Well, I didn't even know she played soccer, I guess, in general was the thing. So that's pretty cool. That is pretty awesome. Thank you, sir, for taking us to the pitch. That was pretty good. NBA updates real quick. NBA has been having just a tough time already with COVID. Players just saying, fuck it. Like, we're just going to do whatever. Kyrie Irving apparently is just going out, no mask on at a family party. Getting wild, I guess. And he just continued. I don't know. Kyrie Irving treats his job like I treat mine. Like, I've got hours to burn, so I'm just going to use them and just call off today. That's Kyrie Irving right now. That is literally him. It's just like, I don't feel like it. I don't really want to do it today. Katie's there. He'll take care of it. Don't worry about it.
Well,
go ahead, Pete.
Well, I mean, the touch spot for Kyrie, I mean, it's not like, he had these issues in Boston, and it's not like he had these issues in Cleveland. So, who would have thought that, something would come up with Kyrie? Who would have thought?
Who would have thought that Kyrie Irving would be a diva? I didn't know. There were no signs. There was no red flags ever in Kyrie Irving's career. But like what I said with the COVID issues, the NBA and the NBA PA agreed to new protocols today. I know like one of them is like you can't like hug after the game or something. So like the Bulls are screwed. The Bulls players love hugging up on the opposing team after the game, so have a good time. Can't do that no more. Players I know will have to wear masks even when they're on the bench the entire time, no matter what. They have to wear a mask. So they're just gonna keep going full steam ahead. They don't want to stop the season right now, so they're gonna keep on chucking. BK, question here. As a Wizards fan, right? They had a little bit of a losing streak, but you did beat Dan's Phoenix Suns the other night. How do you feel currently, as we're still early in the season, but does it feel to you like they're starting to maybe right the ship?
No.
No. Sad times.
it happens when you have one guy that doesn't really play a structured offense.
Are you talking about Russell Westbrook?
Yes, I am.
I'm sorry.
Again, who could have saw that coming?
Great, though. Bradley Beal's playing great, though. Do you know who I first saw coming? Scott Brooks, head coach of the Wizards. He's like, oh, man, I've coached him before.
I've seen this story.
He's like,
I know what's going to happen.
he sure does. He's like, I'm going to lose my job again. Son of a bitch. I'm sorry, BK. Hopefully, next week when we get back here, the Wizards will pick it up a little bit more. But it is off to a bad start.
Ready for punishment, so just keep it coming.
Man, I had him like getting in the 8th seed. I feel really, really dumb right now. But we'll see if they can right the ship.
I had like 8 seeds, so I mean, we all got it wrong together.
Oh, Lord. The Bulls also lost their last 3 out there on the West Coast, Sacramento, the Lakers, and the Clippers. However, the 3 losses combined, they lost by a total of 9 points. So the Bulls are looking fun. They're playing hard. I mean, that's what I like about it. They're really playing like a team very different from last year in a way of where the Bulls, now when they're down, it just doesn't seem like they're kind of giving up. It seems like they're really pushing forward. Zach LaVine is balling out like a superstar. Pete, have you liked what you've seen from these young Bulls thus far?
Absolutely. I mean, those 3 losses, I mean, where the Bulls are at right now, those are like 3 wins to me. They battle against the Clippers, battle against the Lakers. Like, this team is competing, and oh my God, what's the difference with this team? Billy Donovan. Well, of course, the stud of Patrick Williams. I mean, also. I mean, he's just, blocking LeBron and then guarding Kawhi. Like, I mean, he's playing great right now. I know a few months ago we were laughing at what the heck were they doing, but I mean, hey, they're competing. So, I mean, that's all you can ask for. I mean, last year it was like 20-point loss, 30-point loss. Like, yeah. So, I mean, I'm happy with what the Bulls are doing right now, and I think it's only going to get better.
100%. I agree. I do think that the Bulls, they're just playing better. I mean, it's not translating necessarily into wins yet, but you just see the culture is very different. And yeah, to the Patrick Williams point, that's a very good point. I think everybody they draft him, who the fuck is this guy? And now it's all right. Now it's like, we know who Patty Williams is. Fucking stud. That's who he is. He's only 19 years old. What a beast. David, anything to add here on the Bulls?
Nope, they're looking pretty good. So let's see if they keep it up. And we definitely could look in like that 8th seed, maybe.
Let's do it. Let's get it. I love it. Put it out there. Let's get this good vibes going for the Chicago Bulls. Not good vibes. The Cleveland Indians have dealt Francisco Lindor to the Mets. Pete, as the unofficial Pulse of Cleveland guy, what's going on out there?
It's ridiculous. It's honestly ridiculous. Like, I could see them trading Lindor. Like, I get it. Okay, he's gonna want like a massive deal and whatnot. Like, they're not paying anyone. The payroll of the Cleveland Indians right now is $21 million. The entire team. They are $20 million less than another team. And you know who that is? That's Miami. Okay? So if you're the Cleveland Indians and you're $20 million less than that, but you can't find the financials to pay Francisco Lindor a long-term deal, okay, say hypothetically it's a $30 million deal. Like, you can still build around that because the Indians have shown in the past that they do a really good job when it comes to drafting, developing players. I mean, look what they've done. I mean, with their payroll. So they can still do it. You have a centerpiece guy like Lindor, and you just dealt him away. So this is going to get ugly, and I think the people in Cleveland are very scared about this. 2023 is the last year that they have for Progressive Field.
Oof.
It's up after that. So this is terrifying, and like everybody in Cleveland is scared about that. Like, because if you put a bad product like that on the field, are they going to go somewhere else? I know we've talked about expansion there a few months back, but like, are they leaving? It's sure looking like it. If you're not going to invest in the team, I mean, the only good player they really have right now is Jose Ramirez. Like, that's on like a big deal, and it's not even a big deal. I think it's like $8 million. The next guy is Roberto Perez, and you know that Bieber is going to get paid. And if you're a Bieber, I mean, why would you stay? I mean, this is not good for the Indians right now. I mean, they're making the Marlins look like spenders right now. It's bad. It's bad. And I'm very concerned for the Indians right now. I mean, they're going to have a name change, and then maybe that name change will be a city change. I don't know. It's terrible.
I didn't even think about that they could be one of the teams moving, right? We always just assume it's the Rays. The Rays will probably be the main one. But the Cleveland being an option too, that is very, very interesting. It is perplexing here as well. David, the Cubs we're just waiting at this. I think Cub fans at this point, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, it's almost like you're just waiting for something. Like, it's going to happen. Some type of move's happening. You don't trade just Yu Darvish. Like, I just don't feel like that makes any sense. So, do you believe Bryant's going to be dealt, David?
Yes. I mean, it's been building up for it from all of his contract issues and negotiating back and forth with the DMs for the last, 3 years for arbitration. It's just building up to eventually you're like, after all of that, if I was the player, eventually you're going to be like, I'm going to leave for more money, right? The Cubs have to see that, right? From that outside perspective, like he's going to leave if we're not going to even pay him. And he's probably tired and fed up of that. And to be honest, he hasn't even produced that great of numbers where he's worth that much money. Like a couple years ago, we were talking like he's Bryce Harper numbers type contracts. And now he's nowhere near that conversation. So, I've been waiting for it. He is probably one of my favorite players still. I actually have his jersey. It's going to be sad to see him go, but it's time for the process to begin again. We have no pitching. So, and then, of course, with our hitting, it's when it wants to be. So I wouldn't be surprised if more pieces are dealt besides just him. And I'm fine with it because you got to trust the process again.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely are in a position where you need to retool the farm system, rebuild it. I've heard also news, words and jumblings of Wilson Contreras. Possibly there's conversations with Miami. Pete, do you think that somebody else is going to get dealt, and is it more than likely Bryant?
I mean, I think sadly, yeah, it is Bryant. I mean, it's funny because the Cubs and Indians are on a similar, I guess, path of just selling off, but it's also different because the Cubs have huge contracts. I mean, I understand from their perspective, you got to shed some of that, cap and salary from there. Yeah, I think it's bound to happen. There's just been so much talk about it. I don't know if the Yu Darvish thing, if they're basically, because they have to keep some of this core. They have to keep, whether it's Rizzo, I mean, they're probably going to keep Rizzo. I mean, I can't see him getting dealt. The Contreras thing, they do have a really good young catching prospect in Miguel Amaya, who they're really fond of. So I don't know if that's the solution. Maybe have a veteran catcher that's basically David Ross. A player manager. Why don't we just have Ross catch? So let's have we'll put it back there. We'll just
trade to get the Mets' top catching prospect too.
I mean,
that was the rumor. That kind of makes sense as well.
Well, the thing is, if I'm the Mets, though, if I was going to make that deal, I would have made it. I mean, you would have thought the Indians would have gotten that because Frankie's a better player than Chris.
Right.
I mean, at this point. So, and also, I mean, going back real quick to the Indians thing, if you were going to maximize Frankie's value, you would have traded him last year. If you knew this was going to happen, you would have traded him last year because his value was a lot higher because it would have had 2 years of him. Whatever. We'll talk about the Cubs now, but I don't know what they're going to do because there is everybody's basically available. I mean, there's been rumors, obviously, about Contreras to Miami, and then Contreras liking a tweet today about him possibly getting dealt to Miami. So I don't know what Jed has in store because I know they do have to shed salary. You're not going to be able to move Hayward's contract. That's too big. Nobody's going to want that contract. So, yeah, I think Chris is going to be dealt, and it scares me because they don't have a replacement at third. And I keep saying it. They don't, and it's going to be dark times because they don't have a farm system. At least the Indians have somewhat of a farm system. The Cubs don't have one. So it's very terrifying to see what you can get because I mean, as David mentioned, Chris's value isn't that great anymore. It's only gone down. Yeah. So you're not going to get what you were hoping to get when he was the NL MVP 5 years ago.
Yeah, I do think right now we are probably. I say this every week. Baseball, I feel like the free agency is just really sucked. It's just really slow, and it's just how it is, and that needs to be fixed. But when it comes to deals as well, I think when it comes to at least the Cubs, I think we're about maybe a week, maybe a week and a half away from something, right? Because we do know right now baseball is planning to have a normal season. They sent memos out to teams saying prepare for February spring training. It's going to be a full 162 game schedule. They're also planning to have fans in limited capacities if they can safely with masks. They will not require you to show like a vaccine passport or anything like that. BK, is this the right move for baseball to push for a 162 game schedule in the current environment we're in?
It's the right decision, but they're going to do it to try to make up money in the games and everything. I know we were all talking about the kind of somewhere in the 60 games was a good feel and everything, but they're going to just try to make up money. And in the beginning, they're going to be pitching the 162 also for the players, because they're like, all right, like that's their way of like coming to the table, essentially like, hey, we're trying to push for 162, keep you happy because we don't have to like essentially cut your money now, because that's the ultimate thing that's going to stand in the way of the season being shortened is like the player pay, because the owners are going to want to pay the players less. So that's like one of the first stumbling blocks of that ever happening.
Yeah, I was really looking forward. I thought, with them talking about wanting the players to be vaccinated, it looked like May would be the more to start, which pushed us to, maybe that gives you 100 to 120 games. That's way more digestible than the normal 162. So I'm going to see how this 162 feels, but I have an assumption right now that it's not going to feel great. Even as a Sox fan right now, I don't think it's going to feel very wonderful to watch 162 games. David, do you think this is the right call for baseball?
I would have to agree with BK on that a little bit. I'm more shocked they didn't go for like a 120 range and maybe still did the whole 160, because what's going to happen, right? You have to try to fit in some rescheduled games. It's going to happen like they had last year with the little short schedule they had, and they're going to be trying to cram in games and players aren't going to have off. Whereas if you did like a 120, you could schedule more Mondays and Thursdays off from more teams where they could potentially fit in games that need to be rescheduled without having the players play for like 3 weeks straight or 4 weeks straight. I think there was some point, I think the White Sox had the whole month of September, I think they played because they had to make up some games or some ridiculous thing like that. And where it could be the exact same turnaround. Like if you have playoff teams, they're going to have to force to play those games. And it's going to get rough.
100%.
But especially if you're doing 162, because they basically almost play every day except for, occasional days off.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting to see. Pete, do you agree that this is the move for baseball?
I mean, who really knows what baseball's thinking? I mean, if they'll say 162 right now, I mean, look what they did last year. I mean, are they in actually a well-run league? I mean, come on. Like, Manfred he's probably going to change it next week. Who knows what's really going to happen? I mean, they're going to obviously push for this. I mean, BK and David touched upon. I mean, it's all about the money. I mean, that's what it is. They want to maximize the revenue. They want to put as many games as possible, and the players are going to push for 162 because they want to get paid too. I mean, it's all about the money. That's really what it comes down to. And yeah, they want to get butts in the seats because they lost out on a lot of money. So, yeah, I mean, it's nice in theory for 162, but as David mentioned, I mean, there's probably going to be like postponements. You're going to have a crazy schedule. Are we going to do double headers? Are we going to do 7-inning double headers again? What are we going to do? I mean, it's bound to happen, until everybody is able to get the vaccine and, COVID's hopefully not a thing anymore. I mean, it could possibly happen, there for baseball. So, yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens. Obviously, Manfred's great for all the different quotes that are ridiculous that he comes out with. So I can't wait for the next one, when, something wrong happens here.
Can't wait. Really, really excited.
I want to touch on another point I just thought of. Like when we talk about 162 games and what's another money revenue thing is records. And a lot of records get broken when you play 162 games because that's where they were set. And then people tune in for those records, and that's what generates more revenue. So maybe that's why they want that many games played as well.
The ball's getting juiced again. There's no doubt in my mind.
Oh, definitely. It needs to be juiced.
Yeah. Baseball needs
excitement.
excitement.
Juice, but it's getting greased up. But.
Oh, yes, indeed. Ex-Angel staffer is suing MLB after being made a scapegoat in the latest cheating scandal for Major League Baseball. Greased up balls. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know a whole lot of what the hell's going on, but I just know that the pine tar and the stuff that the pitchers were using, such as Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, Corey Kluber, just to name a few. Oh, Adam Wainwright, because fuck St. Louis. We'll say that too. It's just
That one's coming.
baseball's out here. Another cheating scandal. Greased up balls, boys and girls. Greased up balls. Unreal. I don't know. Anybody want to add to that? Because I don't know.
Me too and I were texting about it because I think I texted him first, and he was like, Bauer wasn't lying. That was like his first thing. He was like, Bauer told us about this. And then I talked to a few of the warehouse guys, and they were like, yep, Bauer was talking about this, and he said he was going to do it too. And so, nope, that's another stain upon Manfred's legacy. And like what P2 said earlier, is this a real league? Does he know what he's doing? That doesn't look that way.
It's always worse when you are rated lower than Gary Bettman. And that is consistently where Rob Manfred lays. Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. Rounding out baseball news here real quick. The White Sox signed Liam Hendricks to a 3-year, $54 million deal, guaranteed. Awesome. Finally, Jesus, Meyer and Joseph. I'm sitting here just waiting for something to happen. The White Sox go out there and get Hendricks. It's so interesting to me. That they're going to basically, to me right now, it looks like they're going to let Colomé walk after having such a great season. But we'll see what happens there. And also the Nationals signed Kyle Schwarber to a 1-year deal. So he'll be playing out there in
Washington. Shocked that he went to an NL team.
Yeah, I really thought he'd go to an AL team. I really did. Schwarber would be such a sweet DH. Absolutely sweet.
It's basically what he's designed to do, and I don't know. Maybe the Nets see that he could play outfield. I don't know.
We couldn't pay him here on the South Side because we got Adam Eaton. So,
the thing that's insane about the Schwarber deal is he honestly got more by not going to arbitration. He got more in this deal by the Cubs not picking it up. So that's probably what it was. All right, well, you're gonna pay me $10 million. All right, yep, I'll play left. I'll make a few errors. I don't care.
Yeah, who
But I'll
cares?
hit a few dingers.
Yeah, you're paying me.
I don't care.
Who cares? Good.
Whatever.
And then sad news: Tommy Lasorda, Hall of Fame manager, passed away this past week. Super, super sad. So that is always shitty in the baseball world. But it was really funny because I totally had forgotten that he had been a participant at, I think it was one of the WrestleManias. He was the announcer or something like that for a cage match because I saw Hulk Hogan. And I was like, that's weird. I didn't know Tommy Lasorda did that. So I was like, that's pretty fucking sweet. Moving on here from baseball. Last night, the eyes were on the college football championship to wrap up a just wild 2020. Games canceled, COVID, everything else. Conferences not knowing whether they want to play or not. And it was Alabama versus Ohio State. And I will tell you what, that game started off really good. I was like, oh, this is fun. This is going to be great. This is going to be a lot of scoring. It's going to be back and forth. Next thing I know, Ohio State gives up over 200 yards receiving to Devonta Smith in basically the first half. And Ohio State's just getting completely rocked. Obviously, a lot of that, I think, has to do with Sermon getting hurt right away. Justin Fields clearly was banged up, very much so. And Alabama doing what Alabama does. Maybe one of the best offenses we've ever seen. Unbelievable what they were able to do. Jalen Waddle out there after breaking his ankle in week 4, and we'll get into that, whether that was the right move or not for him. But, first and foremost, Pete, I'll start with you. What did you think last night of Alabama's just decimation of Ohio State?
Well, it's the same old story. Bama's just so annoying. They're just loaded. They're just loaded. This is what it is. The game was over, as you mentioned, Ryan, on the first play. As soon as Trey Sermon was out, it was like they're done. They were already down a couple defensive linemen, and they were out 13 players due to COVID. Ohio State was already down. So you're already down, and you got to face Bama. They are loaded. I know Bama ran stuff all over them in the first half. But honestly, when Devontae Smith was out, if you take Devontae Smith out of that offense, Bama's not this isn't, great analysis. They're not a great offense. I think with Devontae Smith out, they're not as dynamic. So, I mean, you take out one of the main cogs out of the Ohio State offense. Clearly, that showed there for Justin Fields. He just didn't have the time in the pocket. It was bad. I mean, it was close. It was back and forth, but I mean, they're able to get like 10 yards almost every play. This Bama offense is insane. I don't know when it's going to stop. I don't know when Saban's going to stop. I mean, what does he have to prove at this point? I mean, this Alabama team was terrifying. Yeah, I mean, it's just the same old Bama. I mean, it's what it was, and it was an ugly game.
And he's the greatest college football coach of all time. I don't think there's any question anymore. He's better than Bear Bryant. Yeah. He's better than Urban Meyer. Anybody you want to throw out there, Nick Saban is the dude. I mean, that's 6 out of the last 12 championships for Bama. It's 7 total for Saban. It's just nuts. It's absolutely insane. I mean, that a lot of people have said that's the best offense Alabama's had like in this whole time for him, and like that's so crazy to think about. Just the way, I mean, it was almost guaranteed every week they were going to put 50 on you. And like it's just insane. And then next year they have their best recruiting class, Nick Saban's best recruiting class now, ranked wise. So like it just doesn't end. And to your point, Pete, it's not going to end.
Well, little tidbit though for the Alabama offense, like as much as like we talked about Notre Dame getting like run over by them, hey, Notre Dame held them to the fewest points all year. So
kudos
to Mike. Notre Dame number 4 deserved it. Boom.
Go Irish.
That's right.
Go Irish.
Only allowed 31.
Oh, yeah. Only 31. David.
Only 31.
David, last night it was disgusting. But your takeaways from Bama versus Ohio State?
I mean, not anything different than what I expected. I'm pretty sure that we all knew Bama was probably going to roll over Ohio State. We all expected it. We thought maybe Ohio State could have some fighting power because we kind of thought they were going to lose to Clemson. And they showed us up a little bit there. So maybe we thought maybe they could put up some more points and have a fighting chance, but this game was over at like halftime. I mean, and yeah, when you're not covering Devontae Smith, or at least try to cover him, I don't know, because the dude every time is wide open. Mm-hmm. And it was rough. He's definitely probably top 5 draft pick this year coming up. But yeah, his recruit, like you said, Nick Saban, though, his recruiting class is just crazy. And then he already has the best one coming up, because who doesn't want to just try to win a championship? If I'm a kid coming out of high school and I could be almost guaranteed, look, if his track record right now is 6 out of the last 12,
it's a coin flip.
For 4 years, I'm probably going to get one.
Yeah, it's a coin flip.
I'm going to go there.
It's nuts.
Yeah. I may get 2 championships while I'm there for 4 years, and hopefully my senior year, I'm a starter. So, and if they agree to that, then they're going to do it. You learn freshman, sophomore, and then you grow. So, and that's just, we have to deal with that. And then that's what just makes SEC so powerful, because LSU could compete. And I saw an article or something, they were trying to compare would Alabama's offense compete with LSU's offense last year. And yeah, I think that would have been a great matchup to watch. I wish we would have had that, because that would have been one hell of a fucking game to watch.
Yeah, because the LSU offense, I mean, you saw probably the greatest quarterback performance we've ever seen in college football history with Joe Burrow. So see what that would do with a complete offense that is Alabama this year. That would have been really insane as well. Also, fun tidbit, the number 1 quarterback recruit in the country, 5-star recruit. Oh, yeah, he was just sitting on the bench behind Mac Jones, so don't worry. That's coming up, too, for Alabama. It's so crazy that you get these kids.
That's if he declares, because he's only a junior, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah, but I think if you're Mac Jones, you declare.
Mac's gonna declare.
Yeah, your ceiling is never going to be higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he's going to be good in the pros, but he's going to declare.
He's definitely going to declare. He'd be a great Jet.
Yeah.
He'd be great. Be a great New York Jet.
He's not going that high.
Like a 77 or 78% completion percentage this year.
I think so. It's pretty easy to do that when Devonta Smith literally catches everything that gets thrown his way.
And when you throw 1 yard screen passes, I mean.
So that means
I'll wait for the draft
him then. The Saints are going to need a quarterback.
Well, I'll wait for the draft talk for Mac Jones to hate on him later. But that's what I think about Mac Jones.
BK, your takeaways. Your takeaways, sir, last night from the college football championship.
Sarkisian I thought he may have been checking it in a little bit with him going to Texas here shortly. We were talking about they couldn't really cover Devontae Smith. But Sarkisian was putting him in very advantageous positions. He had him all over the field with all the very unique just motions and everything like that. Just a lot of props to him. I think he really called a great game offensively. Like you said, it does help when Najee Harris will break 2 tackles every time he touches the ball. But he just had a great game, which is almost lost behind Smith. That's the main takeaway. And also Jalen Waddle. Personal opinion, he probably shouldn't have been playing the way he looked. Props to him for toughing it out. What a tough dude. It seemed like he was more of just like a decoy. Like, okay, hey, here he is. Like, watch out. But he's not really there. He wasn't really there to actually do anything. It was just more of us kind of taking up space.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, I mean, I saw players, Mahomes and some others tweeting about it. Like, why is he even out there? Like, no. And you understand, he wants to be out there and play in the national championship game. But sometimes you have to step in as a coach and be like, yeah, no. You got to think about what's next. Jalen Waddle, honestly, if he doesn't get hurt, might be better than Devonta Smith. I don't know. You know what I mean? That's how good the weapons really were for Alabama this year. So we will see moving forward who declares and who's coming back. I just want to say real quick, too, is that there's a lot of people bitching about Bama and that they continue to roll. And here's my thing, right? 6 out of 12 years, that means it's a coin flip, right? If they're going to win or not. Just get better. These schools need to be better. All of them. If you're going to get upset that it's Bama, Clemson, Ohio State, you need to get better. That's what it is. You have to recruit better. You got to make sure your game plan is better. Just get better. Because you are right. You're just being dominated every year. So instead of bitching about it, just get out there, recruit, and get better. That's how I look at it.
Or just hope Saban retires.
A bunch of things.
Just,
what did you say?
Go, BK, what were you saying?
I was just small school guy here, ECU. It's kind of bullshit. It's the rich getting richer. Mm-hmm. So it's like, all right, cool. I get your point. Get good. Oh, cool. Let's cut down on the number of scholarships that we offer. Let's put in actual terms of budget of how much programs can spend on their weight room, on all their facilities, all this other stuff. Because it's even the Notre Dames and the other schools Notre Dame will have a tough time competing with Alabama. Just saying it was honestly just because SEC the number one, and because they're going to keep giving so much, and they'll just give millions upon millions and millions of dollars to keep Alabama number one. I mean, did they pay off his house? Boosters paid off Saban's house?
I think so.
I think they paid it off the other. So that's what you're competing with, is that they're just going to keep spending money because there's no limit.
Right.
So why stop? Spend to guarantee to put you in the best possible scenario. And so that's why you're getting all these. And that's why you have in the NCAA and the Mark Emmerick earlier today, and we won't get into that. We'll probably say that for next week when he was talking about. But I don't know, this gross spending it's getting annoying, and I'm tired of seeing the same 3 or 4 teams every year. But like I said, small school guy, so
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
Because I suck.
No, I do understand. From a small school's perspective, it is difficult because you're just sitting there and you're just watching it every year. And it's like, well, how can you tell a kid that's going to come to ECU, what are you trying to tell them? You know what I mean?
Come here for 2 years and transfer to Bama.
Well, yeah.
That's basically.
Well, I mean, college football's just got to wait for Saban to retire. So wait for him to get bored. So. I mean, that's really it. Wait for Dabo to take over.
I think when he gets bored, he just does Affleck commercials. So I don't know. I don't know when this is gonna end. I don't know. But what I do know is there are some teams that got eliminated this weekend in the NFL playoffs, and I've got feelings. I've got a lot of feelings. Bills beat the Colts this past weekend. Is this the end of Rivers? I don't know. I do want to point out that, the Colts had opportunities to be in this game. They really, really did. But then they just kicked themselves. They shot themselves in the foot so many times. They literally, they missed field goals and things like that. Some of the calls were bad. But Buffalo moves on. Pete, do you think that is Buffalo the real deal right now?
I mean, that was a tough game for Buffalo. That was a high pressure game for them to win. The takeaway that you can have from the Bills is they didn't play their best game and they still won. I mean, that's what you could take away. That was good for them. But yeah, Indy had some costly things. I mean, I get it that maybe they shouldn't have went for it there at the end of the second quarter when Pittman dropped the ball. But I mean, Rivers also kind of dropped a dime to him and he dropped it. So I don't know if you can really blame Frank Reich for going for it because it seemed like the play was set up. There were other instances there for Frank that he didn't really make, the greatest decision. But it was going to be a tough game. I mean, the Colts are a very good team. So I think for the Bills to win that was huge for them. But, Diggs, of course, showed up. He was great in the game. Allen made some great plays. I mean, his first jump throw touchdown where he's like basically a dude's on his back. I mean, the guy's ridiculous. So, yeah, you've got to feel good if you're Buffalo. I mean, it's kind of like what we'll talk about later with Cleveland. Getting the monkey off their back, that was huge for the Bills. You got to be feeling good if you're the Bills because you have Josh Allen and he's still hot.
100%. BK, do you have anything to add to what that happened with the Bills and the Colts?
Touching base on Diggs there, he was kind of very quiet, if not shut down the first half, and then absolutely exploded. And I think him and Josh Allen and their connection was part of the reason that the Bills were able to take that second half. It just seemed that everything that Josh Allen threw Diggs' way, he was coming down with. Very just kind of almost Anquan Bolden-like. Just throw it in his direction. He's going to box out. He's going to do whatever. He's going to get it done.
100%. David?
I mean, it was a great game overall. The Colts, like you said, got themselves in the foot pretty much. The Bills definitely didn't come out looking that great, which is, I thought it was gonna be a blowout for the Bills the way that offense was moving. But I think like Pete touched on it, like they were definitely under pressure. Like it was their first playoff win since like '95. So now with that off their back, hopefully they don't have a sluggish start next week because I don't know if they could at least beat the Ravens, that type of offense. They definitely need to come out with fire still.
100%. Also, it's the first time since 1995, I believe, that the Bills... Or no, it's the first time ever. I'm sorry, not since 1995. First time ever the Bills and Browns have won a playoff game in the same year. So, let me tell you, that's what happens when you're not good. That's what happens for a while. Speaking of not good, Seattle's offense, not good. Fired the offensive coordinator today because it was just such a disappointment for the second half of the season in particular, and then what happened against the Rams. The Rams end up knocking off Seattle as well. DK Metcalf fan there. Russell Muscle Hustle. I don't know what happened. Wilson, what your thoughts on just the meltdown of the Seattle offense?
Russell Wilson couldn't kind of carry the team on his back. They did struggle running the ball. I also want to just talk about the Seattle defense too, because the offense was a letdown, but I mean they were looking bad against Wilford originally there, and then he had the neck injury, whatever you want to call it there, and then Jared Goff, who just had surgery, it was 12 days before that, had 2 or 3 screws put into his thumb, and he was throwing some ducks. He was throwing some ducks, and they were still getting to the wide receiver. It was remarkable. That was a crazy game. I was personally shocked just because I think the Rams had no business winning that game. Is that game different with the 12th man in there? Maybe, but that could just be an excuse for Seattle because they played piss poor. Russell Wilson had the second half of the year, he'd really dropped off, and I think you really saw that second half Seahawks team of the season right there in that game. That was them in a nutshell.
100%. Pete, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean that offense was very much struggling. I mean, they talked about broadcast how Seattle's defense, is much improved. Yeah, well, they played bad competition. Let's just be honest. They didn't play great offenses, and when it came down to it, they lost to a team that, the dude just had screws put in his thumb, who Sean McVay won't admit this, but there's no way he has confidence in Jared Goff because the way that Goff was able to be healthy enough to play, why was he not starting that game? That makes no sense to me. There were reports that like he was doing fine in practice. That didn't make any sense. Why he didn't start? Why you're having Wolford start that game? I didn't understand that. But yeah, this Seattle offense, it's like, and that's the reason that Schottenheimer, their offense coordinator, got fired today because from like what was it week 7 or week 8, ever since basically that middle season game at Buffalo, this has not been the same team. It hasn't been the same Seattle team ever since then. They haven't been able to make adjustments. And when you're one-dimensional, especially against a great defense like the Rams, you're going to be screwed. Because if you can't run the ball, you're done. Because even when Aaron Donald got hurt, it didn't matter. They were still getting after Russell. And it's weird. It's always like sometimes there's always this team that you just don't play well against. Russell's never played well against the Rams. I don't know what it is. Even back to the good old Jeff Fisher days, like he still can't play well against the Rams. And you got to give a lot of props to the Rams. I mean, Goff said after the game, like the Seahawks were smoking cigars, talking about the NFC West title when they were there 2 weeks ago. I mean, we got to talk about motivation. Those players are motivated. And Jalen Ramsey and that entire defense was for real in that game. So you got to give a lot of props to them. And yeah, there were a couple wounded ducks that Jared Goff was throwing up, and Seattle probably should have made a few different plays there. But yeah, you talk about a disappointing season from what they started at. We were talking about like a high-powered offense to what they are now. It's unbelievable.
It's very, very gross. David, your thoughts on the fall of Seattle, halfway through the season, basically.
I mean, yeah, it's shocking. I mean, I did pick the Rams to beat the Seahawks. I knew that Seattle, they weren't that great for the second half of the season. They were just playing piss poor competition. They were like the Bears, right? The Bears were playing these shitty teams and they looked fucking great. Well, yeah. So was Seattle. They weren't playing anybody great neither, and they were winning, just barely winning and just getting by. And then Russell dropped off. I mean, like, it's just shocking that 2 months ago we're like Russell's like the MVP. He's putting up crazy numbers and then just disappears. He's not even in the top 5 conversation anymore. He just drops off so bad. It just shows how that offense changed, and it goes definitely on the offensive coordinator because obviously teams figured out that offense midway through the season, or they tuned in and saw what happened, what Buffalo did to them, and the other teams just tried to mimic it, and the offense coordinator didn't change anything, I guess. Just guess. And then of course Ramsey's just, he's shut down literally every wide receiver he's played this year. He's had an amazing year.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about that. And then of course, but then that goes on the offensive coordinator in Seattle. DK has him mirrored up, put him in different slots, put him somewhere else. And then we saw when he was not guarded by Ramsey, he broke out and caught like a 40-yard touchdown. So you see what happens when you move him around. And that's all on the offensive coordinator. So you got to play your matches, and then you gotta just move it around. I know a lot more rotation, figuring something out, and then that's why he was fired. But yeah, that Rams defense is great, and they had no business winning this game. So the Rams just remind me of like old school Bears football. You have a great defense, you have a running back just running the ball who they had over 100 yards running, then you have a quarterback that can just throw ducks and maybe catch a ball every now and then. It's literally the Bears memo there. The only difference is they have a better head coach. So there you go.
I'll give them that. They definitely do have a better head coach for sure. Also, rounding out the Saturday games, Tampa Bay hung on against Washington, who put up a fight. I will tell you that. If you're a Washington football fan, you should be really happy with what your team did this year. Not like it was just a rotating door of quarterbacks, right? I mean, Dwayne Haskins is gone now. Alex Smith, they announced before the game, couldn't play. And I think we were streaming, and I was like, oh, shit. I'm like, I kind of want to. I'm like, no, I'll stick with Washington. And I was watching the game. I was like, holy shit. I might still be right. BK, as a former Washington football team employee. So, I'll go to you first. Your thoughts on Washington getting real close to beating Tampa?
It's a great game. It was a good game to finish off those Saturday games. A nice little icing on the cake there, a little dessert to end the night. Taylor Heineke can't say enough about just a gutsy performance, an incredible performance. Definitely played himself into a plan B kind of starter. Preferred backup job somewhere. He's going to get paid some decent backup money, and that's one of the best positions in the NFL. Get paid that backup money. You don't have to get hit. You get to wear a red jersey. You get to stay healthy. That's what you want. It's like being the backup punter, except so you get paid more to the backup quarterback. And then also, I can't believe I was worried about Mike Evans going into this week with his injury because he looked fine. He's still, oh my God. He was excited to play in the playoffs. You can see that. And also, real quick, Ron Rivera. Wow, what an incredible season. If he's not Coach of the Year, then something's wrong. And then if Alex Smith isn't Comeback Player of the Year, something's just wrong.
I know that Pete's looking at it that way because Kevin Stefanski, but I just want to point out Ron Rivera also beat cancer. So,
exactly.
That would probably also give him the edge. I'm gonna let you go now, Pete, against Washington.
He got an IV during halftime.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. All right.
But
all right. Let's just look at the facts. They're under 500. Okay. Let's just look at the facts. Stefanski should be Coach of the Year. Let's just be honest. Come on. All right. Stefanski should be Coach of the Year. It's not because I live in Cleveland.
He didn't even coach a playoff game yet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll get into that. Don't you worry. I'll get into that.
Let's do Washington and Tampa, Pete.
Yeah. Let's just stay on schedule. You knew that Tampa was going to win this game. I mean, as soon as Chase Young said that comment to Tom Brady, that's all Brady needs. I mean, we saw the Michael Jordan documentary where he just needs any little bit, and he's just going to pounce on it. Brady was a surgeon in that game. So, I'm not surprised, but Heineke played his balls off. I mean, he played phenomenal for them. You can't say enough great things about Ron Rivera. Now the most tenured NFC East head coach. Unbelievable to say that. So now, Rivera did a phenomenal job. He really did. And yes, he does deserve Coach of the Year votes. I just think Stefanski deserves it more. But you talk about an effort that they put forward. Washington, you look at that team, if they could just have any sort of stability at the quarterback position, maybe add another weapon on the outside to go with Terry McLaurin, they got something cooking because that defense is already really good. You got Gibson, who's a really good running back. You got McKissick. Maybe add some pieces on the offensive line. And especially in a weak division, they can do this again. So hats off to Ron Rivera. That just shows how great of a coach he is. And, Del Rio, not the greatest head coach, but he's such a good defensive coordinator. He's done a phenomenal job there.
100%. David?
Coming in, we all thought Tampa was, going to whoop on them a little bit, and we're like, oh, it's the Saturday night game. We're like, okay. We had it on. I watched it. It was pretty good, though. Like, for the rookie, I believe it was his first NFL start in a playoff game, for him to ball out like he did. Just that run that he did for his touchdown, he went all out and just said, fuck it. Even though he probably got talked to a little bit on the sideline, like, hey, we don't have another quarterback after you, basically. You can't be doing that shit. But good job scoring a touchdown, probably. But, a
good point.
He definitely showed that, he was like, fuck it. And then I remember he got hurt later in like the third or fourth. He got hit on his hand. He went under the tent. And he still came back out and played. He was like, fuck it. So he definitely played in some pain in that fourth quarter. And it shows like he really wanted to play. Tampa just has way too many weapons when it comes down to. And it's going to be hard to stop them. And then, especially when you're rotating the quarterback, and like Sam Rivera probably did a great job, coach. I'm trying to just figure out and just putting pieces that work. There's definitely a mind game all year for him. Figure out all that stuff, especially when you're dealing with cancer. And on top of that, yes, I could see some Coach of the Year. But votes going his way. It could be probably close between him and Cleveland. It's definitely between those two coaches right there.
It should be. Yeah, it really, really should be for what Ron Rivera was able to do there. Sunday was basically AM Nation Day, right? The Ravens played. The Bears played. The Browns played. The Steelers played. And only a couple of us are feeling good today. That's what we'll tell you about that. Let's start. BK, the Ravens and the Titans. The Ravens get their revenge. And I was right. Henry was held under 100 yards. So, kudos there. Your thoughts on the Ravens beating the Titans, BK?
50 yards. Only had 40 yards on 18 carries. So, I mean, it goes back to what the Ravens were doing this offseason. If we go back to our NFL season primer where I talked about them going out and getting Calais Campbell, going out and getting Derek Wolfe, really trying to address that front that got absolutely wrecked by Derrick Henry last year. And it was a good little revenge game for the Ravens as well because they had dropped their last 2 games against the Ravens. So it was good to kind of get over that little hump, shut down Derrick Henry. It was still dicey a little bit. Lamar didn't play great, but he played well enough. And that's what you have to do sometimes. You're not going to have a perfect game all the time. He made some bad reads, and his passing wasn't. It was actually pretty good. He had the nice the arm angles going again. Marquise Brown had a good bounce back game. I was really upset with him the other week. I was going off in one of my Ravens friends chats. I was like, the Ravens are going to have to spend another first round draft pick on a wide receiver because that man can't catch the ball. Because he was drafted before DK Metcalf that year, so that's fun to live with. But I do feel good. I mean, you're a Ravens, so you got a playoff win's a playoff win. It feels good.
100%. Pete?
I mean, it was a revenge game. I mean, we talk about the end of the game, the whole Marcus Peters and the entire defense just stomping right in the logo just because the Titans did it before. I mean, the Ravens were probably hoping they would play the Titans to start the playoffs. I mean, they were hoping for this game. I mean, that defense made it a point to shut down Derrick Henry, and they did. Lamar made enough plays. That 50-yard run he had was just insane. It looked like everybody else was in slow motion. And this team is cooking. The Ravens are hot right now. They're like the typical, what you look at, the wild card team, in the old wild card format. You don't want to play them. They are hot right now. Especially, I mean, when you got a good defense and you can run the ball, you're going to go far in the playoffs. Those are 2 things that they do well. And Tennessee, it's just if they can't get Henry going, they can't do anything. It's just and they're very limited in what they can do from there. And Tennessee's defense, I knew that this was going to happen. They're not good. They can't on the quarterback. They really can't do much in the secondary. They're not the greatest defense, and they got exposed there in that game. So props to the Ravens, and that Ravens Bills game we'll talk about later. It's going to be fantastic.
100%. David, your thoughts?
Yeah, it was definitely a great game to watch. The Ravens did come back and do their revenge on them. They definitely keyed their defense into just stopping Henry and only doing that. But what we'll talk about later in the Bills matchup is that now that secondary didn't look that great because they let them just keep throwing on them. And then when you have Tannehill throwing on them, it makes me a little worried when you have Allen throwing on him next week. So I'll get more into that later. But yeah, their offense looked pretty decent. Jackson didn't look great starting. Start off, the game, I was like, oh, shit. Tennessee got an interception right off the bat. Poorly thrown ball. Horrible throw. And that was the easiest exception that probably Malcolm Butler probably will ever have in his life. But yeah, good thing that their defense stepped up, stopped them, being able to hold them, and then were able to get a touchdown. And then the Lamar's run helped them out great. I was more shocked is watching Tucker miss a field goal.
Yes, yeah, that was actually the one thing that got me.
I just witnessed that in a playoff game. I was like, all right. It's one of those days. All right, so
that was when I felt nervous. I was like, "Oh, I bet BK is real pissed right now."
BK's like, "What the fuck just happened?"
was definitely clenched, tight butthole when that happened. I was like, son of a bitch.
It's like it's seriously like that moment. Like even our kicker really was.
Gosh.
We all know about kickers missing over here, so it's like
Only in Bears uniforms.
As a Ravens fan, I've been very fortunate to have.
But yeah, they definitely came out and they got the
100%.
revenge game. And you know what? The Titans shouldn't have been dancing on their logo. You know, that's just what it comes down to. There's a theme around that, and we'll get to that up ahead when
we
someone
will.
named Juju
Oh yeah.
sucks some greasy balls that we were talking about early. Some greased up balls.
Greased up balls. First, speaking of shitty, the Saints rock the Chicago Bears. Listen, the Bears scored 3 points. That's what happened. Yeah, they got a touchdown at the end, but they scored 3 points. And if that's the end of Mitch Trubisky's tenure at the Bears and him throwing that touchdown with a beautiful catch, by the way, by Jimmy Graham, absolutely beautiful catch, then all right, that's how it is. And Mitch Trubisky has something that I'll tell you: Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, they don't have an MVP. Nickelodeon's valuable player, Mitch Trubisky. Let's fucking go. The best was having that on. I went and hung out with my dad and my grandparents to watch the Bears game and the Steelers game. And watching that Bears game, and we switched at the end, we switched to Nickelodeon because I just wanted to see it. And it's actually really good. And when they show the poll for the MVP, my dad's like, the fuck are these kids watching? I was like, holy shit. But listen, the Bears are who we thought they were. You know, they didn't play well on really either side of the ball. The first half, the Bears did a good job of holding the New Orleans Saints offense, but on their offensive side of the ball, the play calling just felt so scared. Like they played like they were scared to lose. And like that's not going to win. Obviously, you have that one beautiful trick play. It's like the one trick play I think they had, and he drops it. Just right then and there, like I knew. I was like, okay. Because when you're a team like the Chicago Bears and you're going against the Saints, you have to hit those plays if you want any chance of trying to win that game. I knew, after the game, I just wanted change. I just want it to end. I want really the team to be blown up, but I think we're a year away from that. Reports came out that Nagy and Pace are going to be retained this year, but Chuck Pagano did retire. So that solves his defensive coordinator spot. I was worried. I was like, we're going to have to fire him or something. So he retired. That'll take care of that. But Pace and Nagy are going to stay. What happens with Mitch Trubisky? I don't know. Allen Robinson came out and said they didn't talk to him in like a year since the beginning of the season about his contract. So that sucks because that should be really your main priority is bringing back Allen Robinson. So yeah, the Bears weren't very good. They weren't very good. Before that final drive, the Bears only had 6 first downs, which, if people are wondering, the least amount of first down the Bears have ever had in a game was 10. So until that final drive, they were real low, and then they got 5 first downs, so they finished with 11. Way to clench it. Way to go. But David, start with you. The Bears. Your thoughts at the end of the 2020 season.
It was rough. It's nothing we didn't expect. We all picked the Saints to beat the Bears anyways. Last week we were expecting it. I think what's a little bit more shocking is, we're still keeping our GM and head coach. Yay. So I guess that's from a contract perspective, I guess. I don't know. Let it run out instead of wasting money. I don't know. It shows that the ownership is stupid. That's all they're caring about. That's the only thing I could see. Obviously, a low revenue year, no fans. They want to not lose more revenue by firing them too and having to pay them still and then pay new coaches. So, overall, Robinson needs to be signed. Trubisky probably needs to be brought back because who's going to be your quarterback unless you're just going to let Nick Foles be your quarterback because I believe he's still under contract then. Mm-hmm. Which I guess I would be fine for if we're just going to say fuck it. So, it is what it is. And we did have a question in chat that says who would be the best fit for the Bears defensive coordinator and who would you like to see as the defensive coordinator?
That's a good question, Junior. I'll be honest with you. I looked at it. I didn't even
I have
want
no
to.
option.
I didn't even want to look at it. I know Gus Bradley, he just went to the Raiders. Dan Quinn, I believe, is in talks with the Cowboys.
He's in Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's official now.
So I couldn't even tell you. Where I want the Bears to go. Where I want the Bears to go is just to be done. That's where I want them to go.
But
Hibernate.
It's fine.
Yo, listen, I will say that though.
It would have been a nice pickup, but it is what it is.
Rex Ryan's rant on ESPN about the Bears. There's always Bears fans when Rex Ryan speaks about them, like they hold that heavy, like his balls. They hold it. They're like, oh, right here, because of Buddy Ryan, right? So they're just like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's Rex Ryan.
You know what? How about he comes be the defense coordinator?
Well, that's what BK's point too.
Pull up.
I mean,
Like he's a great D coordinator. I mean, like he was D coordinator in Baltimore for a long time. Like he's a great D coordinator, and honestly, like if whoever the GM was for the Jets that actually drafted the Sanchez, like if they just would have drafted someone who was better at football, like quarterback, even half decent, probably would have won one Super Bowl at least, if not two.
Well, I would tell you this with Rex Ryan. It wouldn't be with Matt Nagy because his comments on him and it's just the way, he doesn't like how he handled the Mitch Trubisky situation.
Anyways, you see the locker room, who cares?
Well, that's the thing, too. Like, I just think this Bears team...
Maybe Nagy needs that fire,
No, he needs to be fired. That's the difference. Matt Nagy...
He does, but he's not going to be, so at least someone would tell him straight up in the locker room, hey, you're a piece of shit.
Matt Nagy is a visor-wearing, bald fucking clown. That's who he is. And he coaches in a way like he's fucking scared. And it pisses me off to no end. And we're going to settle for this one more time around. You know what? Fuck it. Sign Mitch Trubisky on a 1-year deal. Tag Allen Robinson. And let's just run it back. And we can just do this again. We'll finish 8-8. Maybe 7-9.
Yeah, it's probably 7. I have to see the schedule.
And we'll run it again. We got to play the AFC North. So that's 4 losses right there. So... let's just run it. Well, you know what? We'll get to Pittsburgh. That might not be a loss. So we'll run it back.
We said the same thing about the division we played, and we beat fucking Tampa.
Well, that's where I said you'll get one maybe. But it is upsetting. Honorary Bears fan BK, your thoughts on the Bears and the Saints? I know you watched on Nickelodeon, right?
Yeah, I watched that.
Fucking great.
Fantastic.
Hell yeah, it's the best part.
Best thing ever. Okay, Slime Zone was awesome. We're to take it fantastic. I was digging it. Nate Burleson did a good job there. I love how quarterback passion there. Just dropped the F-bomb like right there. I was watching it like Peter, like, he said fuck. Like he would look. Yeah,
it's his problem.
It's funny. It was like, all right, that was kind of. It was like, all right, that's gonna happen. And honestly, the kids probably didn't even notice. To be honest with you, like. When you're kids, you're oblivious to a lot of things, so they probably honestly didn't realize what was going on. I want to touch on the point that you made, Ryan, because I think it really rings home, is that after that trick play, Nagy he lost like that oomph, like play calling. The creativity was gone. It was like he was the coach in Waterboy, like the entire movie, like before the end, like the other coach like steals his trick plays, and so he's just not creative. They do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Definition of insanity there. And that's where I get the feeling from Nagy, which is weird from an Andy Reid coaching tree, afraid to be creative. Because Andy Reid is one of the most creative offensive masterminds that the NFL has seen. He's not afraid to try something new and just throw some crazy stuff out there. And it just seems like Nagy is not there. He's just different. I don't know why. And it was after that trick play that's tough. I'm saying that sucks. I remember I was watching that, and I was just like, yeah, I don't have a good feeling now. And you saw it after that. The team was deflated, and they didn't really get that bounce-back play, unfortunately.
Nope. They just kept trying to force the run. And, I'm going to be honest with you, it's one thing the Saints defense done really well all year, stop the run. So, it wasn't going to work. So, Pete, your thoughts on the Bears and Saints?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely the worst game of the weekend. Let's just, throw that out there. It was. The Bears looked terrible. I mean, that was bad. I don't know what Nagy was watching in terms of film for the week. Because it was terrible. I mean, and there's a reason. I mean, the amount of times that Nagy has played on national TV, like as a Bears coach, and just done terribly. I just don't know And this is why the Bears will continue to struggle, because the organization will bring it back. They'll bring everyone back just because they want to save dollars. Why don't you pretend that you live in Chicago and like let's pretend that they're a big market. Like let's just say hypotheticals, because like it's ridiculous that they just try to save money. Like clearly it's not working. I mean, Nagy, the reason they got in is because they added the 7 seed. That's the only reason they got in. And they got in because a team sucked more at the end than they did. That's really what it was. Arizona was terrible at the end. The Bears beat
that's
bad
hard to
teams.
suck more than the Bears, though.
It is
What?
true. It is hard to suck more than the Bears. That is a good point.
Well, hey, when you play the Texans team who Deshaun Watson wants out, you play the Jags who want the first pick so bad. I mean, it's and Detroit. I mean,
We lost that, so you can't count
and
that
they
one.
somehow lost to Detroit. That's what I mean. Like you lost to Detroit. Like, what is happening? Like, so I just don't understand it. Like, it's not working right now, and they just keep going on this, and it's just unbelievable. I mean, this is just typical Bears. They're just gonna let it go. And as a Packer fan, sign me up.
Well,
because
of course.
this is, just like, what are they doing? I mean, it makes no sense to me. And I mean, Wims, even if Wims catches that, it changes the game around. But like, what else is Nagy going to call? Let's just be honest. Was Laser calling the plays or Nagy in that game? Because it was terrible either way.
Yeah, it was really bad, and that's a good point too.
Yeah.
That you're just delaying this. We're delaying the inevitable here.
Yep.
I understand. Like, it's just difficult. Like I said, run it back. That's what it looks like the Bears want to do. They want to run it back one more time, and it's like, maybe that's what you got to do, but you got to be willing to make moves here. To me, if you're gonna be this bad, you need to start parting with some of these assets. Khalil Mack being one of them. You got to move on. You have to. You're just paying a guy because he's good to be on a mediocre team. And it just doesn't make sense. Get some assets and let's help this team out and let's rebuild this team. My God. Because what the team we're about to talk about did just that for years. 4 years. And it has finally paid off for the city of Cleveland. The Cleveland Browns shock the world. No head coach, besides Cleveland, obviously. Cleveland's the only one that cared. But Cleveland, no head coach because of COVID. Couldn't practice. And then they go and completely stun the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers in that first quarter, I will tell you what, looked like they were just in a trance. Like they had no clue, right? Starts with Pouncey, who, one of the better centers, oversnaps Big Ben. And they get a defensive touchdown in the end zone. Then they fumble the ball. Then Ben throws 4 fucking picks. Listen, I'm laughing because I'm sitting there the whole time going, you got to be shitting me. Like not even because it's Cleveland. It's just how bad Pittsburgh played. Cleveland's been really good all year. And they were able to do it again. They were able to control the time. They were able to run the ball down Pittsburgh's throat at times. Baker looked really good when he needed to. There was the I'm sure Cleveland fans there for a minute were like, oh, shit. Here we go. Buttholes clenched because Steelers are coming back. And then, you know what it is? What's so crazy about it? Ben threw over 500 yards. I think threw the ball like 68 times. You can't ask somebody coming back from Tommy John surgery who's like 38 years old to do that. That fucking team sucks. The fact that they didn't even bother trying to get a running back and they wanted to go with James Conner again. That is just unbelievable and inexcusable. Offense coordinator sucks. Juju Smith-Schuster, you're a fucking fool. You're out here running your mouth on your fucking TikToks. You're sitting here talking about they're the same old fucking Browns. Well, the Browns just beat your ass. Chase Claypool, they're going to get fucking rocked next week. Listen here, dumb fuck. You just got your ass beat by the Browns at home. You just got fucking rocked. Mike Tomlin, great head coach. Never has finished below 500 in his tenure with Pittsburgh. Fantastic. However, can you get a fucking grip on your team? Get a grip on these young fucks. And they're on their TikTok doing their stupid bullshit. That's what they want to do. And it's just inexcusable. A Pittsburgh franchise that, to be completely honest, is so overrated the last decade. So completely overrated. Right? Because when's the last time you won a playoff game? Was it 2016, 2017?
Yeah, I think it's like 4 years ago.
Yeah. Mike Tomlin, like I said, great coach. He's only got one Super Bowl. You've been the two. Obviously, if you're Pittsburgh, you would like more because that's just what the franchise is. They've got 7. I mean, you expect more. You had Ben Roethlisberger. You had Antonio Brown. You had Le'Veon Bell. You fucking blew it. I mean, I get it's the Patriots, but I mean, other teams were able to beat them. So why couldn't you? It's just, if you're a Pittsburgh fan, don't sit here and make excuses or talk about what the Browns are going to happen to Kansas City, because at the end of the day, the Browns beat your ass, and you have to accept that. And that now, realistically looking at Pittsburgh, 18 players they have to decide what they're going to do with, including Juju Smith-Schuster, James Conner, and Bud Dupree. A Ben Roethlisberger, who that would probably be his final game, and it's a Pittsburgh Steeler, because there's no fucking way you pay him $41 million next year. Absolutely no way. And it is maybe time to realize you're about to fall to 3rd or 4th in that division for a while. And that is pretty crazy. I mean, I'll get into that later. But Pete, first and foremost, Cleveland gets the monkey off their back. First playoff win since 1995, and it's against the big brother Pittsburgh Steelers. Your thoughts?
It was insane. I mean, it was insane from the kickoff. I mean, basically, that first play of the game, it was like what we talked about with the national championship when Sermon got hurt. As soon as that happened, you were like, this is weird. It's going to be a weird night. I mean, Pouncey basically snapped that, but probably over Shaq's head. Like, I don't know how big he thought Big Ben was, but that was just terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, the big thing what the Browns did is with all those mishaps that the Steelers had, they converted them into touchdowns. That was a big part of the game. It was just insane to watch because you're just like, what world are we living in? Like, what world are we living in? Because this is normally what happened to the Browns. The Browns basically like set a record in the first quarter of 28-0. I think it's like the first time since the merger in 1970. So over 50 years, what they were able to do, it was unbelievable. You could tell that the Steelers just did not take them seriously.
Yep.
I mean, that's just what it was. I mean, they thought it was going to be a cakewalk. They saw, when with the Mason Rudolph-led Steelers the week prior, they were almost able to beat the Browns, and they just didn't take them seriously. And it does speak volumes maybe to Tomlin. I mean, Tomlin's a great coach and whatnot, but like you got to have the boys ready. I mean, Juju's like doing basically a dance while Big Ben's trying to do a cadence in the fourth quarter when you're down 19. Like, yeah, get off the field, Juju, because that's the last time you're going to be on a Steeler. Like, that's the last time you're going to be in a Steelers uniform. But you got to give credit to the Browns. I actually texted, like, one of my neighbors who's the Browns running back coach, like, after the game, like, a few days ago. And I was just like, congrats to you and everything. He said they basically lived on Zoom the entire week.
That's
like, they had 1 hour of practice last week. That was it. So if you're the Steelers and you lost to a team that has a head coach that's in his basement, that has no communication with them, and you have a guy that came in at left guard in the fourth quarter that Baker, Jarvis, and the coach who lives in my apartment complex had no clue who it was, and you lost to that team, like, that's unbelievable. I mean, this, like, you could create a story and no one would take this. You can throw this to Hollywood and nobody would think what the Browns did to the Steelers was going to happen. So props to the Browns. I mean, it was phenomenal. I mean, we were watching it at Molly's mom's house and like, it was unbelievable. I mean, it was just nuts. It was like, wait, score again. Oh my God, they got a turnover. But yeah, I mean, and that's why Ben had to throw so much. They were down 28-0 after the first quarter. And I knew that the whole balance of not being able to run the ball was going to bite them in the butt, at some point. I just didn't think that, I mean, Cleveland not even having a head coach, that was going to, hurt them. But, I mean, you got to give props to that coaching staff there with the Browns. They did a phenomenal job. And, Alex Van Pelt calling plays, former Packers assistant. He did a great job. The defense, my God, they almost blew it. Playing a little bit too safe with the prevent defense.
Mm-hmm.
There was a couple heart attacks there in Cleveland, maybe around 10 o'clock there on Sunday night. Getting a little dicey, but you got to give props to the Browns. They played fantastic. I mean, who knows what's going to happen this week, but, I mean, they played phenomenal. You got to give all the props to the Browns, and you could tell. I mean, especially, Claypool and, Juju's comments. They didn't take him seriously, and that's to be completely honest. They didn't take the Browns seriously.
Yeah, and also what's so crazy about the running game, James Conner was actually running the ball well for the first time in weeks, if not this whole season.
Yeah.
And they had to stop because they were just getting pounced by the Browns. And even that comeback at the end, Ben and these guys were doing everything they could late in that game, and then the defense was just gassed. And they're also obviously very depleted with injuries too, we've talked about, but yeah. Got to give it to the Browns. Hell of a game by the Browns. Come out there with basically no practice and no coach, and to get it done against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who at one point were 11-0. So, David, your thoughts on the Browns and Steelers?
I mean, you guys summed it up pretty much. I probably should have just stuck to my guns and said fuck the Steelers and fuck Juju from what they've done, and they proved me. They proved my instinct right again.
Yeah.
So I should have just stuck with that, and you know what? Fuck Juju. All right.
There it is. Fuck them at Juju Smith-Schuster. Fuck them. Get on Fortnite.
I remember I almost wanted to do it on Twitch when he was playing his little fucking Fortnite.
Yeah.
Maybe he should have been practicing instead of playing Fortnite that week.
Right. But hey, low key, bro. Add me. I'll play you 1-on-1. No problem, Juju.
Teabag you.
Yeah, he probably will. That's a fucking douchebag. BK, your thoughts on your rivals, the Browns and the Steelers?
So, congrats to Cleveland there for the first one in a long time. Like what PC said, when Pittsburgh screwed up, Cleveland capitalized. They scored not only field goals on the turnovers, they scored touchdowns. That's a big thing. That's how they got out to the early lead. That's what you have to do, especially when you're the underdog in that game. And then also props to Baker Mayfield, just because he's had a transformative season. He's looked a lot better and just more mature, more composed under Stefanski. And so that was a little worrisome with Stefanski not going to be in his headset there, a little bit, and he's not going to be at the game. He was going to lose that little almost like support a little bit. But Baker played a heck of a game, just a clean game, which is what he needed to do, and not take anything away from him, because 21-34, 263 yards, 3 TDs, 92.8 rating. That's solid. That's a great game. And in terms of that comeback there, of when the Steelers looked like they were about to do it, it reminded me a lot of the Titans-Ravens game when Vrabel refused to go for it on 4th and 1. And Tomlin had the same situation. Vrabel chose to punt. What a fucking pussy. You're down, right there. You need to go for it, 4th and 1. Same with Tomlin. I don't care if the defense is playing great. You're still down in the 4th quarter. Fucking go for it.
And you had and you had Cleveland's defense on the ropes because you were starting to score way quicker.
Exactly.
Momentum is a real thing, and when you don't try to go for the momentum play like that, it's gonna bite you in the ass. Like I said, they literally saw it earlier that day. I guarantee you, Tomlin saw it, or was told about it. There was no excuse for Tomlin to not go for it in that situation. I was like, oh, yeah, they're gonna go for it. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I forget who was trying to rationalize. Oh, it might have been Collins.
It was Al Michaels. Al Michaels was saying he shouldn't have went for it. Chris Collinsworth was mad. He said, "I would 1,000% go for this right now."
Because that was so confusing for me. I was like, look, the Browns haven't been playing bad whatsoever. Yeah, they've been struggling here, but you're down double digits in the 4th quarter like that, and it's 4th and 1. Fucking go for. I don't care if you Big Ben he's Big Ben.
Yeah.
Tell the man to fall forward. You sneak. He can fall forward and get a first down. I'm sorry. And then also Marquise Pouncey, you're talking he's a great center. He is, but was he? Did that week off really just throw him off? I don't know, because his snaps all night, not just that first quarter, all night were bad. He was snapping them at Ben's ankles there in the 4th quarter, even just consistently bad, which was just weird. It's going a little bit into my point here. We call the games is where I'm I would be worried if I was Kansas City that the Browns could be a team of destiny. There was no reason for the Cleveland Browns to win that football game.
Yeah.
They should have lost. They should have been down 28-0 at the end of the 1st quarter.
And I don't think anyone would have even said anything about it because of the situation that they were in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. With all with Stefanski going all like Pichu said with like the practicing. He's Pichu's our Cleveland Browns insider now.
Yes. Yes.
And then, they don't have arguably the best wide receiver either. They're doing this without Odell Beckham Jr. I think we're forgetting that too, which is just like
It's unbelievable.
I think without him actually helped that team.
100%.
He was a cancer to the team.
true.
I think a lot of it is what it really boils down to is Baker. Baker looks better without Odell, and
Juju.
I don't even think it's that. I don't even think it's 100% like Juju at all.
I think the media overblows a lot of that.
What I truly think
100%.
it is Baker Mayfield as a young quarterback sees Odell Beckham Jr. and at times felt he needed to get the ball to Odell more than anything. You take that number one option away, and you're left with Jarvis Landry, who's no slouch, and then a bunch of other weapons, other guys that spread around. Baker just was able to be more comfortable, I think, and spread the ball around, and that benefits him way more than just trying to sling it to Odell Beckham Jr. the whole game. It's not necessarily that I think Odell Beckham Jr. is necessarily a cancer, but I do think that this season Baker showed he was able to do a lot with less, and which is really also obviously great fucking running attack from Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, so that helps too.
Yeah, I mean the best part of the Browns' offense is their offensive line. Like they move. There's some big boys and they move people.
Even the people they pulled off the streets.
Yeah, I mean they're big movers, man. So no, and to the Odell comment, I mean I would have been intrigued to see what Odell would have done the rest of the year because Odell was starting to honestly turn around in that Stefanski offense before he got hurt. I'm going to take last year out of it because, I mean, it was Freddie Kitchens, for God's sakes. So let's just forget the Browns ever played football in 2019 because God knows Freddie Kitchens is a terrible coach because you look at this Browns roster, it's basically the same except you got Jack Conklin. I mean, obviously the number one probably right tackle by PFF. They're on the right side. So, like, that's the only upgrade. They are offensively. So you got to give a lot of credit to Stefanski.
100%. 100%. I did have a couple of things go over before the picks, but I'm going to call an audible, and I'm going to move those the next week, including Doug Peterson being fired and things like that, because I wanted to have a little bit more time to talk about those things. So, because I want to spend more time to talk about these 4 games that we have this week, let's get into that. First and foremost, I just want to point out, these are the standings right now for the AM Nation Pod Pick'em, all right? I'm still in first with 59. Josh has moved up to second with 58. Pete and David are tied at 56. And Dan and BK are tied at 52. Ah, boy, BK. Dig it out of the cellar. Dig it out. There we go.
Never surrender.
So let's start with the first game on Saturday, the Rams and the Packers. Pete?
I'm scared. I'm very scared because the Rams do 2 things well that can beat Rodgers. That front 4, I don't even care how many ribs Aaron Donald has healthy. He's still like the top defensive tackle. It doesn't matter. That man is ridiculous. I mean, the only reason he didn't come back in that Seattle game is because they already won that game. But I'm scared of that front 4, and I'm very scared of Cam Akers. So those are the 2 things, the run defense and that defense, or the run defense of the Packers and the Rams defense, and how good they are. Because I think Ramsey's going to be able to shut down Devontae. I think LaFleur's going to do a great job of moving Devontae around. He does a really good job of that, putting him in the slot, putting him in motion. I think he's going to be able to do that, but it's going to be. I think it's going to be one of the more low-scoring games of the weekend. I think it's going to be surprising. I'm going to pick the Packers mostly because I have to as a Packer fan.
You do.
And for the second part, I don't like Jared Goff in cold weather. We saw what Jared Goff looked like in 2018 when he had to go to Chicago in that Sunday night game. Jared Goff looked lost. He looked literally lost. It's not going to be as cold there at Lambeau. I think it's only supposed to be like mid-20s. But Goff's probably going to start. I mean, this McVay thing about, we don't know who's going to start, that's bullshit. It's going to be Goff. We already know it. Just say it already. Who cares?
Put in Blake Bortles, baby. Let's do it.
Yeah, Blake's probably got to, I might trust Blake more in cold weather. But I think that's going to be the main thing. And the difference in the game is Goff in cold weather. I like the Packers. I wish it was a night game to make it even colder, but I'll go Packers in that game.
Also, good point too, because of the cold. How is that going to affect Goff's thumb as well? We will see that too.
Exactly.
David, your pick.
I mean, I'm kind of torn on it. I haven't really been high on the Packers too much this year. They obviously they play a shitty division, which we already know.
Hey,
they got to beat up on some other teams.
Two of us made the playoffs, baby.
Yeah, okay. Sure. Anyway, I'll be interested to see because, like how Pete mentioned, the Rams have a really good defense. And we saw what they did to Seattle, but Seattle's offense has been declining. And then the strength of the Rams' offense is the weakness of the Green Bay's defense, is the running game. So it'd be interesting to see. I am going to go with Green Bay, though. It'll be interesting to see how they come off their bye week as well.
Mm-hmm.
They got to watch to see how the Rams, maybe they could predict a little bit better what their schemes are. But Pete's got to be happy. I got to tell you, like, not have to face Brady or Breeze. You only have to face one of them and not both. Originally, we thought you were probably going to face both of them to make it to the Super Bowl. Now you only have to face one of them. So that's great. And then another odd, just not even has to do with the Packers, but like, you notice how all the young quarterbacks are all in the AFC? You got all the old timers.
Baker is the oldest. Yeah.
Yeah, Baker's the
Baker's
oldest
the vet.
person. All under 25 and under in the AFC. Like, that's just wow.
That's right. And then you got Aaron, Breeze, Brady, and whoever. I mean, it's probably Jared Goff, but if it was Blake Bortles, you know what's up. But yeah, I'm gonna die on that hill. BK, Packers or Rams?
Being with y'all, I'm picking Green Bay as well. Losing Bakhtiari there to the torn ACL in practice is a gut punch, an absolute gut punch. And I agree with y'all what you said, where the Rams matchup, like for them, it's a favorable matchup for like the Rams going against the Packers. Everything the Rams are good at, the Packers are not good at, and so it's dicey from that perspective. And we did see Ramsey shut down Metcalf. You know, for the most part, yeah, Metcalf still had 2 TDs, but that was when he happened to like get away from Ramsey. Ramsey is shut down, and so then really good. Like, is MVS going to step up? Like or is it going to be Alan Lazard? So I imagine we're going to be hearing their names a lot, or if we don't, that's not a good thing for the Packers. But I will take angry Aaron Rodgers over 100%. Angry Aaron Donald.
I will always take angry Aaron Rodgers, probably over almost anybody in the league. It's unbelievable. He's having a career year like we talked about before. Listen, I agree. Everything you guys have said about the Rams and how they match up against the Packers is actually a really good matchup for the Rams. I just think that it being in Green Bay, Aaron is just, I don't know. There's just something about Rodgers this year. And like listening to him every week on the McAfee show, I'm like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this guy, he wants to just tear the fucking NFC up. And like, I just think we're going to get a showdown between now either Rodgers or Brady or Breeze. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be real fun. So I'm going to go Rodgers and the Packers here to knock off the Rams. BK. Oh, real quick, though, I do want to point out, Pete said, I feel like I have to, because being a Packers fan, point out no Bears fan picked the Bears last week. So that's okay. That's all right. That's all right. We all said, I want to, but I'm going to pick the Saints.
We know better.
Yeah, I knew. I was like, I wanted to so bad, and I was just like, no, I can't. Baltimore versus Buffalo, BK.
This is I'm scared, just like P2 is. What I was talking about earlier about Browns being a team of destiny, I get the same feeling from the Bills because it was their first playoff win in like forever. Then their first home playoff win in forever. It just scares the shit out of me. But then at the same time, Lamar Jackson seems like he's finally got the monkey off his back. He's played well in a playoff game there. And then also people are forgetting. The Ravens were behind. They were behind 10-0. They were down early that game. Lamar Jackson had the early turnover. So the Ravens did play from behind, came back, and did win the game. So that's one thing that I'm kind of latching hope onto is that even if the Ravens get down early here, 10-0, 14-0, Lamar can actually come back, can stay calm, and can lead the team to a win.
So BK going with his Ravens. Oh yeah, David, who are you rolling with?
It's a toss up for me right now. I could see both of them have been doing really great. I think Buffalo's gonna have the edge. I'm gonna go with Buffalo. I did not like what I saw from Baltimore's secondary last week, and that's basically the strength of Buffalo's offense is passing because they don't really have a running game. So I know Baltimore's focus last week it was probably because it was against the Titans. Their main focus was stop the run. Now they're definitely going to have to almost completely change up their whole defensive plan and focus more on passing attack this week. So be interested to see how they do. And I don't think they have someone that could guard Diggs one-on-one.
Marlon Humphrey's upset with you.
Well, maybe he shouldn't trip in the end zone and try to get a pass interference call.
Yeah, that was an offensive play.
It was an offensive pass interference.
Furious.
Hey, let the boys play. Let the boys play.
Let the boys play.
Yeah.
I do.
You do let them play, but it would have been pass interference if he didn't trip. All right, but he was already tripping and falling. That's why it wasn't called, and that's why you can't call it. If he was
Respectfully disagree.
That's because you're a Baltimore fan. That's
but I mean, when you do this, and you do this, and you're like, hey, I don't want you to catch the ball or defend it.
If you look at almost every wide receiver play, there's always an extended arm.
Yeah. I know. They just don't call it.
Every play.
They just don't
every
call
play. Any catch, you could see the wide receiver will always extend his arm on the defender in front of him.
It is true. I'll say this, though, with Marlon Humphrey, I'll just say that Stephon Diggs this particular season, might be the best wide receiver.
Amazing.
And it's unbelievable.
Amazing.
I mean, I know Pete's got Devontae Adams down there, but
Nope.
Well, that's true, too. Yeah.
Nope. Disrespectful.
It's a
Disrespect.
disrespect.
Yeah, I would have put ahead of Adams. But we're going to have a nice matchup. We'll have that decided when Adams goes up against Ramsey. So.
Yeah, it's true. Pete, Bills, Ravens.
This was my toughest one of the weekend. I think this is going to be a great game. The NFL did a great job putting this on Saturday night. I think this is going to be a fantastic game. I am going to go with the better defense. I'm going Baltimore in this game. I'm going Baltimore because I don't believe Buffalo has faced a team like Baltimore all year. I mean, somebody can prove me wrong. I don't think they have. I think they're going to smack them in the mouth offensively, and they're going to take the ball and do ball control and limit Josh Allen's possessions, and I think that's going to be a key to the game. So I'm going Baltimore in this game to beat Buffalo. And I do not feel confident about it whatsoever because I think Josh Allen can do it. But I just got a feeling like Baltimore's really hot right now. So I'm going to go Baltimore in this game just because I still don't trust that Bills defense. They let hang around, and that scares me. So I'm going to go Baltimore.
No one circles the wagons like Buffalo, baby. I'm going with the Buffalo Bills just because they've just been such a great team all year. And they've also hit their strides towards the second half of the season as well, especially Josh Allen. Josh Allen started off hot. He kind of simmered a little bit, and then he picked it right back up again. So,
they're on a 7-game win streak right now.
Yeah, so I'm going to go Bills here. These two are the hottest teams in football right now. This is going to be a great Saturday night matchup, like you said, Pete. So I'm excited for it, but I will go Buffalo. Sunday afternoon, the Browns versus the Chiefs. Pete, who you got?
Probably should take this hat off, man. Probably should take this hat off. I'm going Kansas City. I don't think. I mean, the Chiefs all year have not covered. Last I checked, I think it was like at 10.
Yeah.
Well, initially it started at 10. I don't know if it's
still
there.
10. Yep.
Yeah, I think that the Browns will cover. I think they'll make it close. But I mean, the Chiefs, it's just too much of a task. Also, like when you're riding a high, like how the Browns were to beat the Steelers. It's just tough to have that intensity back to back. It will be huge for them to have Stefanski back. The things I am worried about if I'm Kansas City, they really haven't played in 3 weeks. You really think about it with them not playing that last week. All their big guys. But Kansas City, that would worry me more if they haven't done it before. They've done it before. I can't imagine the Browns going in there into Arrowhead and winning. But hey, they could prove me wrong. I mean, they proved, most of us wrong here last week anyway. So, I mean, obviously I'll be cheering for the Browns, but I mean, it's a tough task. Patrick Mahomes at home, playoffs. I mean, the one thing that I think can be exposed when it comes to the Chiefs is what kind of running game are they going to have? I mean, is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, is he going to be healthy enough? Are they going to be able to have some kind of running game? That's going to be a liability, but I just think Mahomes will make a few plays at the end of the game to win the game.
David?
I'm going with Kansas City here. I mean, the Browns capitalized on so many turnovers last week, and you can't expect Kansas City to give you that this week as well. Now, if you win the turnover battle, you may have a shot at beating Kansas City, but you can't expect Kansas City to turn the ball over 5+ times.
No.
So, and you take away those 5+ turnovers, Cleveland loses. So, they need to be able to move the ball fully down the field. Obviously, we didn't get to see much of that versus the Steelers because they basically started fucking in the red zone. So, but we'll see. Because, Kansas City's defense, I've never been high on their defense. Cleveland be able to move the ball. This probably may be one of the highest scoring games, but I think the next game coming up is probably going to be the highest scoring game. So Sunday is going to be fucking a touchdown shootout, and we're going to enjoy it because we're going to love that. Because that's what everyone likes to tune in. But Kansas City just has so many weapons, and it's going to be nice watching them take shots back and forth. That's what I'm hoping for, and I hope Cleveland could actually try to make it interesting and put up some numbers because I want to see a shootout here. But I think Kansas City is not going to do the turnover factor, and that's what's going to be the deciding factor here.
BK.
I put Will Decide on the podcast just because Team of Destiny. I don't know. The Browns just give me that weird feeling like they did it last week, and then getting Stefanski back. And I understand what I think P2 said, like riding that high. But then they also did that without their head coach. He's actually going to be there to be like, hey, like almost give them that confidence. Like, hey, look, you guys beat the Steelers without me there. Imagine what you can do with me on the sideline in Kansas City, taking on the Chiefs. You can smack them in the mouth and shock the world. I'm gonna do it. This is for Cleveland.
Oh my God!
This is for Cleveland out there.
Brendan Cleveland. Brendan Cleveland right here.
I don't know if it's all the drugs I'm taking right now to stay awake and do this podcast. Like I don't know what it is, but I've sold myself on picking the Cleveland Browns.
I hope it pays off. If it doesn't, then this is why you're last in the standing.
Tied for last.
Tied for last in the standings. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you.
I gotta take a risk to try to get.
I know you got to. I mean, I've done that before too. It almost makes I should go the opposite of Ryan just so I have a chance to catch him.
I got that. Yeah. It's also what P2 said. Like, what's Clyde Edwards-Helaire going to do? Le'Veon Bell hasn't since they brought him in. The Cleveland Browns can't stop the run. They do have a pretty good front there. So it'll be interesting to see how does that secondary hold up against the Chiefs' weapons who are they're better. Well, because they have Tyreek Hill. That's that's the main one. And then obviously Kelsey. I'm not trying to forget about him. But
he's only the second leading receiving yards in the league. Yeah. But okay,
he's right though.
I was talking about weapons on the outside.
Yeah,
it's I figured he was going to go off, but because Kelsey's better than. I'm trying to think of the last really good Pittsburgh tight end, and I can't think of one. Yeah, probably Heath Miller, but Kelsey's way more than times better than that.
Oh, God.
I'll take Cleveland. Shock the world. There you go, Browns. There you go, Cleveland. Don't hate me.
I have gone back and forth with this game all day in my head.
You're gonna do it, aren't you?
Mostly because of everything BK said even before, and I thought about that earlier. There's this, you get this weird vibe, and it's like it's like you said, team of destiny, and it's like that. What happened against Pittsburgh? I understand Pittsburgh has been really bad, and to Frank's point in the comments that they have been bad for a while, he's 100% correct. But still,
Absolutely.
it's like everything was against them. So I thought about it all day, and I just honestly, man, I gotta go with Baker Mayfield and the fucking Browns, baby. Let's go, Cleveland. Let's get this dub. Take down Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, and let's continue to ride high into Buffalo next week. So I will go with the Cleveland Browns as well. Now, if this sets up and it's Baltimore versus Cleveland, my God.
Oh, man.
My God.
One hell of a game.
We won't be able to do a show because BK, there's going to be some ignorant shit going on this show.
Man.
Expect a bevy of text messages from Miss August there, just texting me just horrible things.
Horrible.
Because whenever, like, she doesn't like that I'm just like a Baltimore fan. It was like, I think the first time I met her, she's like, "You're like a fan of Baltimore?" And just like hated on me.
She sounds like Macho Man Randy Savage. Like that's what you're telling me.
I just met you.
I will tell you. So. Molly Argus, best friend, bestie right here. That's my bestie. And she texted me on Sunday and goes, "Ryan Ebner, what is this I hear you're rooting for the Steelers?" And I was like, well, yeah. Like, my dad's a diehard Steeler fan. Of course I am. I always have. And she's like, I was like, oh, yeah. But I was like, go Brew Crew, and we were all good. We're all good there. So, but yes, I'm going to go with Cleveland here. And it's going to be fun. And then to round out the second week of the playoffs, we have Tampa Bay versus New Orleans. Tom Brady versus Drew Brees. Round 3 in the same year. Tom Brady's never been beaten by the same team 3 times in 1 year. Remember that. David.
Was never beaten by 2 teams by the same year, but that happened as well this year. So, I mean, this one's hard, right? Because you think about, like, when you play someone 3 times, right? You know them. You basically know ins and outs because you already played them twice. In that third game, you're like, all right, cool. Oh, I'm torn on this one. I think the Saints still take it. Even though Tampa Bay looked really fucking good. And we even said it earlier in the year, you know what? Tampa Bay is probably the favorite to go to the Super Bowl. They added all these people, blah, 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 blah. But even with all these people, I still don't think that offense ever really fully clicked with all them weapons that they had. They had glimpses of one person here or there. It's not like the Kansas City offense. You see all the weapons they have? Yeah, they all go off the same fucking week together. You don't see that with Tampa. You see it occasionally. And it's going to be a pass fast because New Orleans offense they're going to stop, or their defense is going to stop the run game, right? The Bucs are going to be like rotating their running backs and not knowing who to go with. And then they're going to just start going to the pass attack. And then New Orleans is going to do the same thing. And be a little different because last week against the Bears was kind of like their warm-up game almost, because it was almost like the first time they really had a full game with Kamara, Thomas, and Breeze in their lineup. And that's just scary to think about. Like, their main weapons have never played like basically one full game together until the first round of the playoffs. So just with that factor and the more chemistry, more practice, I just think that they're going to beat Tampa Bay with all their weapons.
Alrighty, Rooney, going with New Orleans. Mr. BK.
Town down there, just because of the weapons. Like I said, I was worried about Mike Evans going to the playoffs. Is he healthy enough? He's fine. Godwin didn't look great. He dropped a ball or 2, if I recall correctly. But, they still have Godwin. They still have Cameron Brate. So have Antonio Brown. Like, what the
I think Antonio Brown's almost like number 2 now at this point.
I think so, which is weird because, I mean, going into the year, I think it probably would have been Godwin is like the number 1 arguably over Evans just because of the season Godwin had last year. But then I think the way that Evans played, like, I feel like Evans is the number 1, then followed by Brown, then Godwin, just the way, just based on, like, last week, that's the way it looked like. And also, like, Gronk didn't even hardly do anything, so it will be interesting to see what The Saints do against him this year. They haven't been great against the tight ends. So what do they do against Gronk? What do they do against Cameron Braid? That'll be interesting to see. And I'm going to lean towards the Bucs.
Pete?
I am also going to lean towards Tampa Bay in this game. He will not go 0-3 to Drew Brees. He will end Drew Brees' career on Sunday. Tom Brady will. This is a revenge game. This is what Brady needs. He will show up in that game. I think the Saints, if they would have played the Rams last week instead of the Bears, I think the Rams beat them. The Saints did not look good to me against the Bears. The only reason they won that game is because they were playing the Bears. And to David's point about how Kamara, Thomas, and Breeze have not been together, that's why I'm picking Tampa Bay. They just hasn't clicked this year. I don't know what it is, but I'm if I have to pick between Brady and Breeze in a big time game, I would much rather have Tom Brady. So I think Tom is not going to go 0-3 against them. This is a revenge tour there for him. We already had a few revenge games last week, so I'm going Tampa here in this game. I don't think the Saints can do it. There's something still wrong with Breeze, and I think it's going to get exposed here in this game.
I'm going to go with Drew Brees, 67 and breezy, baby. Listen, first and foremost, I'm going to point out right here. Myself and David, I know for sure, picked New Orleans to get to the Super Bowl. I know Pete for sure picked Tampa Bay to get to the Super Bowl. I don't remember who BK picked off the top of my head, but I know...
He's going to change that after next week.
I know our three. So, I am, of course...
Where to go?
Who'd you pick?
I picked Baltimore to go.
I know, okay, Baltimore. Yeah, I knew your AFC, but I did not know your NFC off the top of my head. But I will say this.
I can't remember.
Drew Brees, this is the end, right? It's the final stretch of his career. Just as I picked the Browns because of destiny, I believe this will be destiny for Drew Brees. And what a way to go to beat Brady 3 times in the same year. And that would just be fantastic. However, I will say this right here, right now. If it's Breeze versus Rodgers, I'm going to take Angry Rodgers. Facts. I did not think coming into this season I would see the Rodgers that we've seen. I just didn't. I knew he'd be angry, but I didn't know it would be this level. So I'm going to go Breeze here to beat Brady. For Brady to get swept 3 times would be pretty priceless. So I'm going to go the Saints here to round out this Sunday or this week of playoff matchups. So we will see how that plays out after this weekend. We'll be back next Tuesday to go over that, go over some of the coaching changes and things happening in the NFL, and if baseball decides to do anything, which I don't know if it will. We'll talk about that too and everything else under the sports sun. Of course, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. It's at AMNationPod. Make sure you hit that follow button. On YouTube, search Amalgamation Nation and hit that sub button, please and thank you. If you're listening on podcast platforms, thank you very much. Spotify, Google, Apple, Bullhorn, whatever they are, thank you. Make sure you follow and subscribe on those. If you're looking for merch, the link is down below in the podcast notes, or it's on our pinned tweet on Twitter at AMNationPod. Also, twitch.tv/UndeadRedBull is where you find the shows Tuesdays and Thursdays and any other streams we decide to do together, as well as David playing Warzone, sometimes with us, sometimes with others, but it will be on here as well, and anything else David decides to play. If you're there, make sure you follow and sub. You get a free sub every month if you have Amazon Prime, so give it to Undead Red Bull. We'll be back Thursday, 7:30 Central Time for the gaming show to go over some gaming news and stuff from this first early parts of the year. So everybody, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your week. Have a great Tuesday, Wednesday. Like I said, we'll see you Thursday. And as always, stay breezy.